Granny used to tell me all the time, sparks when faith and preparation combine. The road been right here all this time, but you gotta look with more than your eyes. And the small axe Jesse Ryle representing for IjahStars mindset, rich forever.
Yard slang, wait there. Somebody say something about Jamaican patois and style and fashion. Yes, the Ras. Me a search the other day online and buck up on a new, authentic Jamaican clothing brand. Wagwan are the latest and newest one. In a t-shirt, hoodie, slippers and woman's bag. And a whole heap of other things I may not even mention. Search online for more information. Yard slang. Hit them with a bang.
В другом направлении, к новому мировому порядку.
I think even that does not describe why the world has changed so much and why the world has turned so much toward a new world order and a new kind of civilization.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind: peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law.
As we near the end of this decade and the 20th century, we find that psychics such as Nostradamus and Edgar Cayce predicted the occurrence of cataclysmic events before the year 2000. Jesus Christ also prophesied that wars and rumors of wars would increase. Nation would rise up against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Famines, pestilence, and earthquakes would occur with ever-increasing frequency. The earth itself would become as a woman writhing in the agony of childbirth. Are we headed for what the Bible describes as Armageddon? Is the end of the world at hand? Or rather, is mankind on the brink of a new age of spiritual power and enlightenment, a new world order? Stay tuned as we cover these topics on Millennium 2000.
War has been declared against you, your family, your child, your mother. There isn't anything that you have or ever hope to have that they're not planning on taking away. I'm talking about the oligarchy of evil that controls this country. The American dream is over. The American nightmare is here. 26 years ago, I produced a set of albums called the Illuminati CFR, which addressed this issue, which talked about a group of people that were Masons, that were maniacal, that had organized to put together a global government upon the ashes of all national sovereignty, upon the ashes of your nation. By the year 2000, we will be enslaved. There's no question about it. It's irreversible. And of course, there is one out. We could incite a revelation. We could have a revolution. But the choice is yours. We must incite that revelation, otherwise we will have a revolution. How can we change it? Bring it down to the street. They have a program to inject your child, a vaccination program, to put a transponder at the back of the hand so that your child would be identified from birth. The expert on that is sitting right next to me.
Will the IRFM driver going to junction return to base? That's the IRFM driver going to junction return to base.
For 25 years, Jordan Maxwell has been researching the Illuminati, this oligarchy of evil. Jordan, welcome to the show. I'm going to start off with you. When did you first discover that this group wanted to enslave us?
Well, Anthony, actually, I've been involved in the research of the Illuminati ever since I first heard your records about 25 years ago. But my interest in the occult subjects of the mysticism behind the world order that we live in started long before that. When I was a small child, my mother had an uncle that worked in the Vatican Secretary of State's office as a civilian. And on occasions when he would come home to visit the family, He would sit for hours and talk about the international intrigue going on behind the scenes of world government and religion, and it was fascinating to me, and I grew up with this. I have a senator and a congressman in my family from long ago. I have federal judges in my family, so I grew up in the atmosphere of politics behind the scenes, listening to very wise men in politics and religion talking about conspiracies and international intrigue. And so I was very interested in this subject in my teens, and then of course when I first heard your albums that you produced on the Illuminati, all the pieces began to fit together better for me, because I understood there was world conspiracy. Something that the old man said many years ago. He said that conspiracies are able to deal with just about anything. They can buy you off, they can shoot you, they can deal with you in just about any way they want.
Well, they own the money system.
Right, but the one thing he said they cannot deal with is exposure. No conspiracy can deal with exposure. Once the truth is out and the people understand, then they have problems. And I am saying that the power of any government is in the people. And a classic example of that, how would you like to go to a summit with the King of America and the King of China, and you being the King of Fredonia with 500 subjects? You might as well stay home, because the power of a king is in how many people are in his kingdom. So the point I'm making here is that there is a tremendous power in the hands of the people of America if they would just wake up, because they are the power of this country. The people decide what will happen, and the people have allowed these things to happen and allowed them to continue to go their way and be entertained, and that is the problem that we're facing, not only with the religious and political leaders that are part of this, but the real problem is the people have allowed it to happen.
Well, in the land of the blind, the one eye is king. Terry Cook, you came on strong and heavy just a few years ago, and you become the expert on this new computer chip that's supposed to go in the back of the hand. It all relates to this Council on Foreign Relations group, the Bilderbergers, the Club of Rome, this oligarchy who's trying to bring it all about.
That's right, Anthony. Let's make a very complex issue as simple as possible for the people's benefit. The New World Order really consists of three aspects. There is a New World political system that everyone today is calling the New World Order. As well as that, there is an economic plan for the New World Order, and that is called the New World Economic Order. In addition to those two items, there's a third plan for religion. You see, the planners of the world know that men need a religion of some kind, even if it's a false one. So they have a plan to give us a new age world global occultic religion. So really there's three aspects to this New World Order. A New World Economic Order in which a computer chip will be injected into our hands or foreheads as a means to track, control, and identify us, and will also be used to make our purchases and scan at stores.
Well, they've already put the program in Los Angeles. In fact,
Right.
a trilateralist named Mayor Bradley, Uncle Tom Bradley, was responsible for putting this in dogs.
Right.
And your children will be considered like animals. And
But, you know, before we get into that, which is later down the road, I think we should clearly explain to people what the Illuminati is. You know, for those of us who are acquainted with this term, we don't have to explain it to ourselves, but for the average person out there, they've never heard this term. Jordan, explain to people what Illuminati means.
Well, it comes from, the word Illuminati comes from the Latin word illuminan or illumin, which means light. And so anyone who is enlightened or brilliant, and of course those who are the most enlightened are called brilliant people.
well, it comes from Lucifer.
Well,
what we're really talking
getting-
about here
yeah.
is Lucifer, the fallen angel, and they have picked up on this, the Illuminati. And if you take a look at some of the Chevys now, they're called the Illumin,
yeah.
and they have the horns going up in the back of the vehicle, very subtly telling us that something is coming down by the year 2000.
Yes. Well, as I was saying, it implies those who hold the light, the enlightened ones, and they sent us a statue, as a matter of fact. Those ancient Illuminatis sent us a statue called the Statue of Liberty. It's holding the torch of illumination, which is the Promethean torch of Freemasonry. And if you go to the Statue of Liberty, you'll see a bronze plaque inside saying that this was given to the government of America by the French Grand Orient Temple Masons. And it is a symbol of Grand Orient Freemasonry in America, the holder of the light. And that's exactly the same torch that is carried during the Olympics. It is the torch of Prometheus.
It's not the torch of freedom.
No, it's not the torch of freedom.
Of the Illuminati.
Illumination.
So essentially, in a nutshell then, Jordan, these men whom we tend to call or group in an organization called the Illuminati. It's a loose-knit but tightly secretive organization.
Well, operating through the Council on Foreign Relations, through the Trilateral Commission, through the Club of Rome, through Global 2000, which wants to reduce the population of the planet by, 25%. 25, that's 1,250,000,000 people have to be exterminated by the year 2000.
Well, they can do that.
So essentially,
this technology.
This Illuminati, then, is the group of men who control not only all the money on the planet through all the world banks and the Federal Reserve and so on, but they control essentially all the governments. And so these men are planning to bring about a global form of government that's unique in all history. It's a total enslaving system of world communism and fascism, controlled by a hierarchy in Europe that Anthony calls what? The oligarchy.
Well, no, I call it the evilarchy.
The evilarchy.
The oligarchy of evil.
So these men are satanically inspired, and of course we get that term from the Bible, which means the devil. They're satanically inspired to bring about a global form of government to every nation on earth.
I wanted to add also that on the back of the Liberty dime, on the back of the old dime in America, there was the fasci, which you look in the encyclopedia or dictionary and look at the word fascism, you'll see that the symbol for world fascism was a bundle of sticks, a bundle of rods with a hatchet head. That was on the back of the
Well, you see that
dime.
on each side of the speaker's podium at Congress.
Oh, absolutely.
So they have the fasci on each side.
Absolutely, and it's also the symbol for the United States Senate is the fasci. But the point I want to make is that was on the old dime. Now on the new dimes, you will see it has been transplanted a torch instead of the old fasci, because fascism was used at one time to prepare the world for the New World Order. Now the New World Order is in place. That's why on the dollar bill it says Novus Ordo Seclorum is New Order of the World, but at the top of the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill is Annuit Coeptus, which means our enterprise or our project has been crowned with success. So the point I want to make is that on the back of the American dime today, anyone can look at the back of the dime and see the torch of illumination, which is carried in the Olympics, which is the torch that the Statue of Liberty carries. It is the torch of the Illuminati who are illuminated.
But what we need to do is explain this term New World Order, because do you realize how few people out there have actually heard George Bush and others use this occultic phrase that we're talking about, the New World Order? George Bush said it well over 200 times, and if you ask the average person on the street if they even heard it once, they'll answer no.
When Hitler talked about a 1,000-year Reich, and Bush talks about 1,000 points of light, there's more than just a small similarity. They are one and the same. We're talking about a fourth Reich of the rich, and that's what we're talking about with the New World Order. They want it all. And that fiat funding money that we use isn't money at all. It's debt in the privately owned Federal Reserve. The privately owned Federal Reserve is neither federal nor a reserve. It's private.
That's right.
A private banking institution which is draining us. It's like America is an invalid in the hospital and dying, and they're putting up an IV bleed to bleed us of the remaining blood that we have to bring us down to the very bottom.
That's absolutely correct, Anthony. And since you brought up the Federal Reserve, let's look at the back of our dollar bill and analyze the symbol of the Illuminati. That's what this is, folks. It's also a Masonic symbol, but it's the symbol of the Illuminati, which controls, as Anthony said, all your money through the Federal Reserve, all the U.S. government money, and through other world banks, all the world's money. But this is their symbol, and this is basically the all-seeing eye of Lucifer, Satan, the devil. And what this inscription means here is announcing the birth of the satanic New World Order government. And Jordan, when was this placed on our dollar bill and by whom, and what was the story?
Well, it was placed in 1934, 35, I think it was, originally on the dollar bill. But what I wanted to draw attention to is the fact that it's an Egyptian pyramid. And you had better look at the idea of why an Egyptian pyramid is on an American dollar bill.
Well, it's a symbol of slavery, Jordan, because that pyramid was put together with slave labor. And on our dollar bill, this is the reverse seal. And if we take a look at the schematic of Washington, D.C., we see the layout.
Right, but it was also one of the greatest bricklaying projects the world has ever known. And bricklayers are referred to as brick masons, so it is a symbol of the Masonic orders of the world.
That makes sense.
And it is a very powerful symbol that has been used by the ancient secret societies, and I am here to tell you that that pyramid called Cheops Pyramid is a very important symbol to the world Illuminati.
And they're constructing the Illuminati Luxor up in Las Vegas.
Oh, I understand.
On Las Vegas Boulevard. I was up there with our cameraman here, and...
is that a new hotel in Las Vegas?
A new hotel, 33 stories. I mean, with the capstone.
What's the significance of 33, Anthony?
Well, I think Jordan would be better able to answer that.
When we get into numerology, that is a whole interesting subject of how numbers are used by the ancient world. I mean, 13 is an unlucky number, we're told.
It's a satanic number.
Well, but it's called an unlucky number because originally it dealt with Jesus and his 12. Jesus and the 12 make the 13, upon which a new order of life would be established on earth. The conspirators have then seized upon this term of the 13, Jesus plus the 12, and have begun to build on that a new world order. Something I wanted to bring out about this new world order, because we said we wanted to explain it. Let me make this point, that Europe is referred to as the old world, and anything coming from Europe is old world. When you understand that Europe dominated the world for almost 1,600 years and the Vatican dominated Europe, the Vatican dominated the old world order. Those banking families that were the Roman Catholic banking families of Europe were the powers of the world. They dominated the world. With the coming of America, America becomes known as the New World. Remember Columbus discovering the New World. When we hear the word New World Order, we're talking about a fraternal order of power, religion, money, operating out of the New World, America.
But a satanic, occultic, evil form of power.
The big picture, they want it all. They want to enslave your child, your wife, your mother. There isn't anything that you ever had. There isn't anything that you own. There isn't any right that you possess that they're not planning on taking away. They want it all. You've got a choice. You can join in this fight, or you can die as a slave.
When George Bush used this term, he used several other terms that went along with this term, New World Order. He also said 1,000 points of light. He used another term, New Age, another term, peace and safety. Jordan, who else in history has used this terminology?
Well, of course, all of the despots of history have used similar terminology, and it's always been the same concept of a total world domination. Go back to Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon, talking about how he had gathered all the peoples under him and how impressed he was with himself. You go down the line, and all of the great dictators and tyrants of the world have always dreamed of taking over the world. But everyone tried it the wrong way. Everyone has tried to take over the world with military, and everyone has discovered that military will not work. You cannot police and militarize enough to take over the world. So the Illuminati in 1776 developed a whole new concept of how to pull this project off. Instead of trying to force people into a new order or a totalitarian dictatorship under military, which you cannot do because people are always going to rebel at that, the idea was developed by Adam Weishaupt to create enough violence and create enough chaos and enough bloodshed to frighten the world so that the entire world of mankind would one day come to the conclusion that there's too much bloodshed, too much crime, and there's just no possible way for the human race to exist unless we come together and pool our resources, and all of us accept one government and one order, and we will all live together in peaceful, happy, and one family, and nothing could be further from the truth that the chaos, that is being developed today is being developed purposely to cause us to be frightened into accepting as a remedy a new order of the world, which will be a total dictatorship of the earth.
Ordo ab chaos. Order, a new world order through chaos, a crisis creation. In Los Angeles, we find last year that the city was aflame. I took a look out across the city and I saw literally 3,000 to 4,000 fires going concurrently. It looked like an atomic bomb had hit it. An atomic bomb? Well, was it by design? Was it planned that way? Roosevelt said in politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, it was planned that way. And we're going to have it again. Oh, yes. By design? No question about it. What is the purpose? A new world order. That's what we're telling you. Now, you can wake up or you can stay asleep. If you stay asleep, you're going to die in your sleep. If you wake up in time, we might have a chance of turning this thing around.
The average American is really good-hearted. They're basically honest people. They're paying their taxes. They're working every day. They're responsible.
Terry,
they don't understand why somebody want to create chaos.
The American people are sheeple. In fact, there was a statement made by H.L. Mencken. He said, one can never underestimate the intelligence of the American people. Am I talking about you? Well, if you're watching this program, there's a reason that you hung in there. But we've got the message that you're not going to hear on the major networks. That's what Millennium 2000 is all about.
Yes, serious thing. This part of the program is brought to you by Island Jamaica, a record company now operating in Jamaica. But you know, may I tell you, the tape don't reach nowhere yet. You don't hear nothing yet.
It's only taking these men and myself
32.
32 years. And Jordan, how many?
35.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's taken these two men that number of years to really understand this. I've only been in this for the last 7 years, and I've studied a lot of material from around the world. And in that regard, we may want to look at a number of publications that you can get at any number of bookstores are available that you can use to verify that we're not nutso. And one in particular is Pat Robertson. Everybody's heard of Pat Robertson. He's written a nice book called The New World Order, explaining essentially that this coming New World Order that Bush has been selling us and Bill Clinton has invoked is a system of global communism under the biblical Antichrist. So his book, The New World Order, is very good. But as well as that...
Well, wait a minute. Now, you say global communism. It's really commu-fascism or commu-Nazism.
That's correct.
And this is the government's control over the people, rather than the type of government that we instituted, which was the people's control over the government.
That's correct.
So I'm in favor of dissolving the United States of America, to abolish the United States, because we are all obligated to pay off the debt, the national debt, to these international banksters. Now, that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line is money. Yes, the banksters.
Okay, so now we have a number of other books here that confirm that we're not crazy, folks. And one of them is The World Order, in other words, The New World Order by Eustace Mullins, who spent over 40 years investigating the evil archy, as Anthony calls it. And a number of other books are as follows. Ralph Epperson's very good book, also entitled The New World Order, in which he says basically the same thing, that it's New World Order is a system of communistic fascism under a global oligarchy that Anthony calls the evil archy. And,
yeah, well, Jordan, you have got a lot of expertise in this area.
Well, I have a point I think is very important to be made here, because when you made the statement that you wanted to see the dissolution of the United States and the collapse of the United States, so to speak, what we should explain to the audience is there are terms which are used, legal terms. The word United States does not apply legally according to international maritime admiralty law. The word United States does not apply to the individual states in the Confederation. The word United States is a corporate logo. It's a corporate name. It's a corporation, and it is referred to in the international language. The United States government is a foreign corporation in relation to the states. It is a separate entity. That's why it is not. It sits in something called the District of Columbia. That's why we have a space shuttle called Columbia. It goes back to the old Columbian faction of the Illuminati, founded in this country in New York, the Empire State. So I'm saying that there is a corporation, and according to international maritime admiralty law, all corporations in the world must have a president and a vice president and a board of directors. That's why we have a president and a vice president. Legally speaking, he is not president of the various states according to international law. He is president of a corporation set up in something called the District of Columbia. It is a foreign corporation, and it is stated so in international law that the ruling party in Washington, D.C. is a foreign corporation that has a vice president, a president, and the Congress or the Senate serves as a board of directors. It's a company.
Now, Jordan, you know that the Secretary of the Treasury is not paid by the United States public.
No.
The Secretary of the Treasury is paid by whom?
Well, by the international bank.
By the international bankers, right?
Absolutely.
The international banksters are paying the Secretary of the Treasury, so the Secretary of the Treasury is not working for us. He's working for them.
He never has.
So our monies, or that fiat funny money that we have, which is not money, it's debt-bearing notes. I mean, it's debt-bearing at point of origin. They print that for less than a penny a note. They loan it back to you for face value plus interest, and it could be a 10, a 50, 100. It really doesn't make any difference. It's a way of controlling you. It's simply paper. It's debt. It's issued into circulation, and you are on the hook for it. So I say we have to dissolve this thing called the Federal Reserve. We have to dissolve this alliance.
And let's try to expose the folks out there to things they've never heard about. For example, let's try to show them a chart here which displays a number of people who are involved on putting this new world order, satanic, occultic, communistic, enslaving system together. This chart very clearly breaks down a number of people around the world, and essentially here, mostly in the United States, all the top level people in government, Bill Clinton on down, are involved in bringing about this occultic, enslaving new world order.
Well, like Warren Christopher, who is the Secretary of State, appointing Warren Christopher Secretary of State is like appointing Prince Machiavelli to be in charge of foreign affairs. I mean, this is absolutely insane. Remember the Council on Foreign Relations.
Nearly every top
Colin
official,
Powell.
Exactly.
Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staffs. We've got Donna Shalala. Remember the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission. And Bill, what's his name? Bill Slick Willie.
Slick Willie.
Yeah. He is in charge of the president. Well, he's the president, but he's in charge of what? Well, actually, I don't think he's in charge of anything. I think he is simply a servant of this oligarchy. He praises an individual called Dr. Carroll Quigley, who says, hey, what we have to have is a global government. And Bill Clinton admits that Dr. Carroll Quigley is his mentor.
Now, folks, the reason you're not hearing this kind of truth on the media in general is because the media is controlled. What it essentially amounts to here is that all the top media officials are members of these clubs, Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Bilderbergers, and so on, whose goal is to bring about this new world order. And the reason you're not hearing about this truth that we're showing you today is that the media is controlled. And if you think that's silly, then you just don't have your eyes open, and that's why we're here today, to help you open your eyes to see the truth. And we don't get this information from our own imagination. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the actual documents from these secretive organizations whose goal is to bring about this new world order. For example, this chart below the book was derived essentially from the membership list of this publication published by the Council on Foreign Relations, this occultic New World Order inclined organization. So we have all the information right here. Bill Clinton's in it.
Now, this organization is at 58 East 68th Street, New York City. In fact, it's on the cover of the Illuminati documents we were talking about a quarter of a century ago. Now, if we take a look at the roster We're going to find almost every important figurehead in every party. This isn't a Republican or Democratic or independent aligned group. This group controls all parties. We have a one-party system. It's a sham.
We have another document that is available from a sub-organization of the United Nations in which they actually display their entire plan to bring about this new world order. In fact, this booklet is entitled A Design and Plan for a New World, meaning New World Order. In addition to that, folks, something that's really going to shock you is that they've already planned a global constitution for you. It's already been planned. They're already planning to do away with the Constitution of the United States under Presidential Executive Order number 11490, signed into law in 1969. You don't even know about it, do you? Well, we have that right here as well. But this book here is the Global Constitution Plan, and in fact, what does it say, Anthony? A Constitution for the Federation of Earth, and very clearly here in the preamble, they tell us right where they're coming from. They don't mince any bones here. Right here, they say they're planning a new world order and a new age. We have very carefully documented what we're saying here today. And if you think this is silly, then I just ask you to call this organization or write them and get your own copy of this. This stuff is not Cartoonville. This stuff is not your imagination.
Terry, that's why I brought out the one very major thing, the one very major point, that it is divided that we stand and united we fall. We have to oppose the United Nations. The Secretary General, the first Secretary General of the United Nations Organizational Conference, Alger Hiss. Who was he? Well, some people recall that he was a communist spy. I mean, that's what the rumor was. He went down for the count. He was imprisoned. Richard Nixon, member of the Council on Foreign Relations, and, well, Alger Hiss, a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, worked together for the same program. Hiss got off with a slap on the wrist. Nixon became president of the United States, and we are down for the count. We're getting down to the final hours. We're getting down to the end of the millennium and the end of freedom, as you now know it. We can incite a revelation, but it's going to take all of us, all of you, working together in concert. We have to develop a spirit, and that spirit must become contagious. Ray Youngin, the author of For Many Shall Come in My Name. Is the New Age not, in fact, the Old Age, Ray?
Well, the New Age is a term that comes from astrology, which is, thousands of years old, and has been linked with occultism, from time immemorial.
Now, the Masonic magazine is entitled The New Age, or at least was entitled The New Age.
And still is.
And still is.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Satanists involved in the New Age movement? Is the New Age movement really sort of a cover for this whole Luciferian conspiracy, in your opinion?
I wouldn't say it's a cover. I would say it's the integral part of it, the spiritual heart of what you're talking about, a new world order. In fact, Alice Bailey, who coined the term New Age, who was a psychic and a channeler and an occultist, coined the term New Age and also coined the term New World Order. They both came from the same source. In her book, Externalization of the Hierarchy, she said that the New World Order would be based on the ancient wisdom or ancient occultism, which is where the term New Age came from.
Madame Helena Petrovna Blavatsky wrote a magazine. I've had the bound works of that magazine entitled Lucifer magazine. She had a lot of followers. Adolf Hitler was one. Mm-hmm. He certainly incorporated a lot of the occult symbology.
Well, let me comment on that real quickly.
The Third Reich.
Yeah, the term swastika, that is not a German term. The very name swastika is a Hindu word, and it's a symbol. Now, most people in the audience have probably never heard of this, but in occultism, it deals a lot with energies, with powers and forces, and these powers and forces come through something that are called chakras. And the word chakra is a Hindu word which means spinning vortex. Now, the swastika is a symbol of the chakras that are energized and working in unison. So the word swastika is a Hindu word, not a German word. And the word Aryan is a Hindu word. You know, it has nothing to do with ancient Germans. The Aryans were the Brahmin caste of Hinduism. So much of the terminology and concepts that Hitler used were from esoteric Hinduism and had nothing to do with, you know, ancient German culture or folklore at all.
Now, I've got a magazine which looks something like Time magazine. On the front cover, it talks about power places of the earth and a great meeting over in Egypt where they were going to have a channeling conference. And, of course, at the turn of the century, at the year 2000, I believe all of the leaders are going to be at the base of the Great Pyramid. Is this correct, Jordan?
Yes, it was in the Los Angeles Times. I still have the article, where all of the major leaders of the world governments are going to meet, and George Bush has an open invitation to be there. It's called the World Millennium Society, and they're going to meet there in 1999, and I guess one of the...
As in Millennium 2000.
Well, that's why one of the rock singers, I think it was Prince, that had the song Party Like It's 1999, because those who are in the know that something is coming for the year 2000, and most of the people are sound asleep and have no idea what's on its way. So that's why the song came out, Party Like It's 1999, because the LA Times had an article, all the major leaders of the world are going to meet at the base of the pyramid in 1999 to bring in what they call the Novus Ordo Seclorum, the new order of the world.
And could they not, in the year 2000, introduce a binary star system? And we're going to get into that in a latter portion of this program, but we have these individuals lined up to accept some sort of millennium, 1,000 points of light, like Hitler talked about a 1,000-year Reich.
Well, what we have in the New Age movement isn't just something from the top down. It's the masses are being conditioned also. It's not just, okay, most people, when they hear the term New Age, automatically they think of fringe religious groups. They think of Shirley MacLaine, they think of crystals, you know. But this goes far beyond, you know, individuals like that, personalities. Not just mainstream American culture, but mainstream European culture, Japanese culture is being redirected and restructured for a mystical experience of what they call higher consciousness, to be guided and directed in a mystical sense.
When I did an interview with Benjamin Krem, who's the representative of Lord, let's see, I call him Lord Betraya. I talked about Adolf Hitler being influenced by Madame Blavatsky, because he brought up Blavatsky, and I brought up Lucifer magazine, and he was very discombobulated. He really didn't exactly know where to go. I thought he would hang up on me, and the conversation was coming from England. Do you expect to see Lord Betraya mixed in with all of these so-called leaders of the world to usher in this millennium of Satan?
I talked to, when this first came out about Lord Maitreya, I called up the Alice Bailey organization, Lucis Trust, which, by the way, used to be Lucifer Publishing Company. I was up in Ojai, California, and saw one of their old books, and it said Lucifer Publishing Company in it. But I called up the Alice Bailey organization and talked to their head person, and he told me that Benjamin Krem was like a renegade, that his Lord Maitreya did not have the official sanction of the Alice Bailey organization.
This is at the Meditation Center in Ojai?
Oh, New York City. By the way, Alice Bailey's group was in the United Nations Plaza in New York City. I had a chance to, a few years ago, I had a chance to talk to Benjamin Krem's top person in the San Francisco Bay Area, and she told me that most New Agers had a wait-and-see attitude about Maitreya. They didn't reject him outright, but they didn't accept him openly. They had kind of a, open mind about it.
Wasn't Krishnamurti supposed to be the...
Yeah, Krishnamurti was the Theosophical Society's world teacher, world messiah back in the 20s, but somehow he became disillusioned and renounced it.
And the Baha'i faith comes from Theosophy.
Well,
that's correct.
There's a connection there.
And if we take a look at the only accepted religion in the United Nations, and it's Baha'i. Yeah, we take a look at the meditation room in the United Nations, we see the Illuminati pyramid.
Well, I'm seeing this in organized religion, and in the Roman Catholic Church, and the mainline Protestant churches. These are the areas that are being affected by the New Age movement: business, health, popular psychology, and mainline religion.
Well, you're saying that mainline Christian religions in this country are influenced or heavily influenced by
like the Presbyterian Church USA, which is the major Presbyterian body, put out a booklet saying that they believe that God is speaking through the New Age movement, and that the mainline Protestants should have ears to listen. The thing is that American society, people listening to this are not going to be able to escape the influence of this mystical element of the New Age movement. They may think that, like for instance, I talked to this waitress one time at a coffee shop I frequented, and she said, well, she kind of dismissed what I was saying. Then she took classes at a local community college, and her instructor started to bring her into this mystical aspect. And she came to me and she said, I never thought in a million years I'd ever come up against this. She thought you'd have to go to some weird cult, in some remote part of the country to, become influenced by this. But she, found it right in her own community college. And another student who went to the same community college said that every fourth or fifth instructor in this school was a New Ager, somebody who was pushing this.
Jordan, you were going to expand on it.
Yes, I think it's an appropriate time for me to add this, that in the old Celtic Druid occultism of ancient England, from which we have gotten most, about 95% of our mysticism in America has come from the old ancient English Celtic magicians. We always see pictures of
we're talking about Stonehenge, right?
Yeah, Stonehenge, right. Merlin the magician with his magic wands, and all the magicians always have their magic wands. Magic wands were always made out of holly wood. And Hollywood has been used for many years to manipulate your thinking, to explain mystical subjects to you, and to prepare you to accept certain mystical premises. A classic example, and I'm not in any way belittling the work, but it's very important to understand Steven Spielberg and George Lucas's work with the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, because you can't understand the Last Crusade if you don't understand the First Crusade. And if you understand that the Raiders of the Lost Ark, who was the Raiders of the Lost Ark fighting against? It was the Nazis. Interesting, too, in the Star Wars, according to the Masonic reference works that you can get in any library, the Freemasonic Orders of Europe said that there was a little ideologue, a little spiritual entity that gave the knowledge to what the Masons call our hidden masters. That's what Freemasonry refers to, those who lead world Freemasonry. They don't know who they are. No Freemason knows who the actual leaders of the world organization are. They call them our hidden masters. Well, according to the reference works, there is a little spiritual entity that guides the world Freemasonry, and they call him Yoda. And in the reference works, you'll see this little creature with the pointed ears, and he's called Yota. Yota goes back to Judah, or Judah, which goes back into British Israel World Freemasonry, going back to the time of the founding of England, and that's why they're today called British. The British, it's a very big difference between being English and British. Brit is Hebrew for contract or a covenant, and ish means man in Hebrew. Therefore, British is the covenant man or man of the new covenant.
So we're talking about Star Wars.
So we're talking about Star Wars. We're talking about
the evil empire,
the
and
Empire
Yoda,
Strikes Back. And with the Empire striking back, New York is the Empire State. We're talking about the new empire of New World, America, striking back at Europe in 2 world wars to overthrow the old Roman dynasties in Europe to take over the world. So what we're saying here is that there is a war going on between gangs to see who's going to ultimately be on the top of the pyramid. And in
the new Indiana Jones, the young Indiana Jones movie, just last week,
seen those, yes.
We saw a fella coming up, and he's named Krishnamurti.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that?
That was, well, usually New Ageism in the media is somewhat
but I mean, they're really pushing it hard and heavy right now.
In that segment, they really came out of the closet, so to speak, out in the open, and they really pushed the idea that everybody is divine and God is within everybody, and that meditation, they even had meditation in there. Remember that segment where the young Krishnamurti was meditating with his guru? They were even promoting the idea that all religions are basically the same.
Now, Annie Besant was the co-editor of Lucifer magazine.
Yeah, and she was portrayed as being the heroine. Okay, you remember?
Right.
There was a Christian in there. Remember the the governess or the tutor. And in the end,
she was converted.
In the end, she was converted to the. Remember, she was crying. She was converted to the view.
She saw the light.
She saw the light that God is within everybody, and that all humanity is divine. So that's a good example of Hollywood being used to convey metaphysical.
In the Disney movies, do we see mysticism and the occult and the witches and Merlin and all of that?
But the media is more or less a softening up vehicle. What I focused on is the heavy artillery. You know, that counseling is being transformed and redirected toward that. You know, people have problems because they need a spiritual awakening. You know, in other words, you're dysfunctional because you're operating out of your lower self. You need to operate out of your higher self or your God self.
Now, for many shall come in my name. How mainstream America is accepting the ancient wisdom.
Yeah, Jesus,
so this isn't really ancient wisdom, but this is
sign of your coming and of the end of the age. The first thing he said was, take care that no man deceive you. Take care that no man deceive you because, or for...
But aren't Christians by the millions being deceived with this?
Millions of people are being deceived. In the same chapter, Christ says that if it were possible, even the elect would be deceived. But since they're the elect, since they're, truly spiritually regenerated, they would understand what's going on and they wouldn't be deceived.
Ray Youngin, what do you expect to accomplish with your book? I mean, people don't put together books unless they have a goal in mind. What's yours?
Well, the Apostle Paul in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 says that true Christians, this would come upon the world like a thief in the night, unsuspectedly. And he said, true Christians, brethren, are not in darkness, that day should overtake them as a thief, like the others. So he said that watch for the signs, watch for what's going on around you, and using the Bible as a standard, you can see what's really going to take place.
Balancing the truth and the controversy, addressing the youth and their calamity, motivated by concern for the whole of our liberty, the promise of a new reality, the cutting edge of true intensity, sole provider for the whole of our family, the force of brutal non-conformity, the cutting edge.
Yeah, my brother and sister. Boy, I tell you, the man, they must say some things there, Hey, they must say some things. One of the things them were really surprised me about what the man says, the one them where them usually use, even in a fairy tales, but them usually use in Europe, say the witch's wand is like a stick where you always say them fairy have was made out of Hollywood. Yeah, a wood named Hollywood, and so them get the name Hollywood in California. But the interesting thing that I will wonder we realize, the need for make over England and Britain in America was so much that a lot of the places in America really name half British places. Whole heap of places. Yeah. If you go even in New England, you have New York, New England, because you have these places is some places where is in England. And the man show you how the whole America spirituality and the whole heap of occultism stem from outer England. Ancient England, but it's a weird thing. This illusion.
From a born, I know myself. Ijah done destined for greatness. No call me no dark or trust me, boy, you know have to rate this. The 225th already established and I elevate this. The conquering lion is the highest and the greatest. So I couldn't give a fuck who want to underestimate this. Pardon my French, I'm just speaking it clearly so you can understand this. Too many crime, too many injustice. And the political arena full of puppet and too more cutlass. The whole of them are thief and just a bunch of hypocrite. Road boy around the turf and them not afraid for empty them clip. Bullet in a face and them not aim to no hip. And the reality of that is both box and casket. Crime rate hit the roof. What's the solution to curve it? Poverty on the rise just like a damn pandemic. I can go on and on, me nah stop, me nah quit. Una shouldn't make me pull out the bounty hunter hit list. Because the whole of the name them are the thief in one them pon the pulpit. Lightning and thunder, not even Jesus Christ can stop this. Me day upon the scene and now bad energy get a lick. Goodwill, overstanding, tolerance, the king say fi practice. Nothing but absolute African traditional culture. The mindset are uplift.
Smash that subscribe button. See you on the next video. I just start the mindset.